Hello, everybody. Whether you are tuning in on Zoom or YouTube, welcome to Touch Yourself Tuesday. This week we have Elle Chase with us, coming to you live from LA, where it's always hot.
Yes.
And I'm coming to you from Detroit, where it's not always hot. So, just whew.
Yeah. You look dewy and youthful.
Yeah. So we've seen each other a bunch of times out in the world of sex positive events and such. And this is the first time we've done a thing together. I'm so excited. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for asking. I'm very excited.
Of course. Just a little bit of background on Elle for those who are not already familiar with Elle. Elle Chase, CSE, which stands for Certified Sex Educator, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. She, her is a certified sexuality educator, which says that right next. Writer, speaker, and coach, as well as the author of Curvy Girl Sex 101, Body Positive Positions to Empower Your Sex Life. There is the book. Elle is also the creator of award-winning sensual images blog, ladycheeky.com, which we'll be talking about a little bit later on, which has been named the best porn for women by Cosmopolitan, Huffington Post, and more. Chase is a frequent guest and regularly quoted source for international media. Oh, you got a lot, but NBC, God. ABC, New York Times.
Don't even.
You've been everywhere.
Oh, gosh. I get around.
Yeah, let's see. I first read your work in Curvy Girl Sex, and then I feel like we ran into each other at a toy expo one time.
Yeah.
And you're a person whose face I see so frequently that it was like I did this double take of we haven't said hello. And I feel like we were near like the Vibratex Magic Wand booth or something.
Oh, that's quite possible. That's quite possible. I do like to hang around there.
Well, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I mean, I've got a little bit of AC, which is nice. And I don't know, I've been busy, which is good. It's a good problem to have.
What does a regular day look like for you?
Oh, God, there is no regular day, my friend.
Know. You can give me like before quarantine and then amidst quarantine.
Well, sadly, before and after quarantine are pretty much the same.
Okay.
So being an introvert, it's, I now work from home. So I get up, I walk the dog, I watch a little news, have coffee, and then I start my day. Either I have so many different jobs to make money that I will start working on all of them. And I usually get up at about 4 a.m.
Oh my God. I'm so jealous. That's before me, and you're in a completely different time zone.
I'm weird. That is weird to get up at 4, but I get a lot of work done. So,
Yeah, I can tell. Are you working on writing anything right now?
I am working on my second book, which is a long form book about body image. It has more of my philosophy in there. And I'm also doing, it's hard to describe, there's this app called MJoy that asked me to do like a 5-part series of affirmations and how to build up one's body image for sexual pleasure and just for out in the world. So I'm writing that and working on that.
Ooh.
And then, I'm doing other stuff.
I know what you mean. It's like sometimes when you are a sex educator, it's like, especially working from home, everywhere is your work venue. The phone is your work venue, the computer, in-person relationships, even.
Everything. And it's so interesting. I always am fascinated by what sex educators do to make money, because sex education, sadly, doesn't pay for 99% of us to earn a living. Yeah. So it's like sort of putting a pastiche together of all these different things. So
I love that you use the word pastiche, because I just learned about that word yesterday. I'm sure I'd heard it before, but someone was using it, explaining it to me, they were like, it's like a Tarantino movie, but like, I was like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
Well, that is lovely. I get so many questions about sex education certification.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, being a sex educator, there are so many different ways you can sex educate, but having a certification is cool. I would love to know a little bit more about what that was like for you.
You know, it's a weird sort of gray area, because you can be a fantastic sex educator that's doing wonderful work and not be certified and be self-taught. I was self-taught for years, and I basically am self-taught, although I did the San Francisco sex information training, which I was lucky enough to take because I live on the West Coast.
I know, I've got my eye on it, but I'm like, relocating for a few months. Okay.
Yeah. It's really, I hope that they can do something online one of these days, but
yeah.
EDSI is doing certification online. Everyone deserves sex education.
Oh, cool.
And so they're starting up, I think, next month, and then doing another one in October, so people can get certified with basic skills. But you know, so I got certified through SFISI, and but you know, I really just put the CSE there for people who will pay me money because it has CSE, to be honest, and ACS, which is American College of Sexologists. So otherwise, I wouldn't care, to be honest.
Well, it is true that when you have certifications, it's like in the existing structures of government and capitalism, you get more respect or whatever. And you get to charge more for doing the things you did beforehand in some cases.
Yeah, you know, this is like such a sort of needle in my paw, as it were, because I really feel like getting these certifications is so inaccessible to people.
Oh my God, yeah.
And
people don't even know where to go.
People
How
don't
can
know
that
where
be
to
accessible?
go.
Yeah.
And even when you find like places that you want to go, like I really would love to learn more about somatic sex education. And the places that I want to go will only take people, say, with a 4-year degree. Or who are certified in this. I don't have a 4-year degree. And I feel like you can become a wonderful sex educator if you apply yourself, and you don't need to be certified. And if you want to go and learn more, you should be able to do that, you know? And there should be some sort of structure in place too for people that can't afford it. I mean, there was one program I wanted to take, it was $7,000. I'm like, Jesus.
Right.
Like
as we talk about affordable education, what will it look like in a few years?
No.
You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, I love that you were self-taught for so long, though. I mean, that is where I am at right now. I have attended a lot of similar events to you, but it's the same thing for me. I'm just like, I don't have a medical internship on my resume.
You're a great sex educator.
Thanks. I feel really insecure a lot of the time. So thank you.
We all do.
Yeah, we love to gaslight ourselves. There's the doggy.
Yeah. Mail's here.
You were like,
I could yell shut up, but he's not going to stop.
No, we love it. How did you, I mean, I know that this is such a general question, and I'm sure people can do a deeper dive if they want to learn more, but I'd love to hear how you started down this path. What was the first thing that gave you that itch to sex educate?
I was in a sexless marriage. I had a completely different life. I was married. I wanted to have babies. I wanted to stay home and raise the babies. There's nothing wrong with that. I regret not having a child. But not having a passionate marriage sort of led me to the dissolution of that, and then trying to find myself, and doing it through Twitter flirting and finding a lover online and starting up Lady Cheeky, to really just sort of send pictures back and forth of stuff that we really wanted to do together. And and I got asked, people found it, and I got asked a lot of sex education questions. And my dad's a scientist, so I'm not going to just like come up with something and be like, I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
But they're, you know, what do I know? I'm putting fucking porn pictures on a site. So I would look it up from reputable sources, and then I'd write it down, and I'd send the letters back and or the emails. And I just sort of fell in love with it. I found it all so fascinating, and so many things at the age of 40 that I didn't know. I mean, I can't believe now that there are the things that I didn't know that I didn't know. And it, you know, I didn't grow up in a conservative household. My mother was a hippie. My dad's like a super liberal, you know, scientist guy. So, and I didn't know this stuff. So that's how I did it. And I went on that journey, and I started just sort of exploring my own sexuality and learning more and learning more. And that's it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, very similar for me. While I was not in a married, I've never been married. Compared to my peers, I became orgasmic very late in life. I mean, I was 19 or 20, which is so early relative to people I talk to on a regular basis. But yeah, people have, you know, everything mapped out at age 12, or they're like, oh, puberty, I figured it all out at once.
Right.
And I, even though relative to the people I talk to, I still figured out, nothing's ever really figured out, right? But I started getting curious relatively later. And when I talk to people of all ages, I talk to people who are, you know, I don't talk to people who are under 18, but 19-year-olds who are like, just like, I've never been able to have an orgasm with a partner. And I know how at that age, it really does feel like, why the fuck haven't I figured this out? But we truly do have our entire lives ahead of us, regardless of what age we're at. And it's so interesting that so many of us have started from there being a lack of something, instead of being like, oh, you know, I want to go to the moon, I want to be an astronaut. It's like, oh no, nobody's been, not enough people are going to the moon or whatever.
And even if you think that you know, or you've had one orgasm with one person or just by yourself, there's so much more to explore. And you can get into, I mean, for me, I had when I got married at 33, I think, I had sex 5 times in my entire life.
Yeah.
And they were not enjoyable.
Yeah. And performing for other people, or yeah.
That's it. Like, I didn't understand what the big deal was about sex until I found a lover who knew what he was doing. And gave a shit about how I felt. So, and there's so many people out there like that, and they just want to find people like us that have our stories and say, there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
It's the world. It's the way we grow up. It's all that external stuff. We're not born feeling this way, you know? So.
And I get when people ask the same question too, because the answer is not simple, and it's different for every person. It's not a thing that you go to sleep and wake up and everything's different. It's like it's just like any self-exploration thing, whether it be pleasure, trauma, you're slowly picking it apart.
Yeah, it's definitely something that is sort of bespoke. Everyone has to sort of make their own way, and it changes too over your entire lifetime. Some things that you may not have liked before, you like now, and vice versa. And some people get really anxious about that. Oh, I used to be able to come this way, and now I can't come this way anymore. And it's, well, you know, okay, so this is great. Let's rediscover what's going to turn you on and what's going to arouse you. So,
yeah, I'm excited to have you here, because I have so many questions that I've been asked over and over again that I would love to pose to you. And like a huge one right now for me, given our global climate, or whatever you want to call it, is like, where's my libido? How do I get my libido back? Why I used to want to have sex with my partner and now I don't. What's going on? And they're all variations of the same question.
Yeah.
What do you think about libido and low libido, especially right now?
Well, there's sort of two schools of thought, and I recommend anyone, and you and me again, but I recommend anyone to check out Cindy Darnell's work around desire. It's really sort of game changing. Cindy with a Y, I-E. I'm sorry, not I-E. C-Y-N-D-I, Darnell.
I'm writing that down.
Thank you. She's, first of all, the smartest sexologist I've ever met in my life. And she believes that there is no such thing as low desire, really. That it is always available. And it's just about learning how to access it at different points in your life, in different stages and different ways you're thinking. Now, we are in the middle of a global pandemic where we can't touch anybody. Not only that, but I mean, do I even have to name all things that are going on? The economy, the election coming up. I mean, the racist killings and beatings.
The police file, yeah.
Police. I mean, it really feels like Armageddon.
Yeah.
So it does not surprise me that people are having a difficult time being able to connect to their bodies and connect to their desire, and to even feel free enough to be able to let themselves go in a way that will cultivate that arousal. And my feeling is that there's no rush. This isn't going to be forever. And we don't know, we've never been through something like this. So we don't know how we're going to move through it. So I just ask that people be really gentle with themselves and not force anything, because forcing something, just like with orgasms, it never works. Right. You know, it's like, I've got to come. It's like, ah, damn it, I didn't come.
It's the one thing that won't make you come. Yeah.
No, exactly. So I also think that we're entering this new age of dating and hooking up, and I'm a big fan of hooking up. So when Craigslist went bye-bye for the personals, I was literally bereft. But I think this gives us the opportunity, especially, and I'm looking at you, white heterosexual men, men assigned female, male at birth. I think that gives us the opportunity to really sit down and have to talk to each other, and have to find out what makes the other person tick, and have to find another way to sort of get them in bed, because nothing's going to be happening for a while, or that it shouldn't really be, because we don't want to, stay locked up forever. Yeah. So, I mean, personally, I haven't wanted to date for a really long time. And I felt like, oh, well, this is the perfect opportunity, because now I can really get to know someone. I don't have to feel that pressure of like, God, he just wants to fuck me, or he wants a blowjob, or blah, 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 blah. I don't have to fight him off. I don't have to do any of that. And then I go on and I'm just like, I don't really care, because there's so much other stuff going on. Yeah. But if you do want to excite yourself again, if you're at home with a partner, or you have a partner and you want to, and you guys are sequestered separately, I love mutual masturbation.
And you happen to be quite knowledgeable about the subject, don't you?
Well, I don't like to brag, but I do like to masturbate, and I do like to do it with a partner. Yeah. And things converge, and they make a beautiful evening.
Yeah, you have a class called Give Yourself a Hand, which is amazing. It's a good play on words, whatever you want to call it. Sure. I love the thought that you have this whole class on it, because in my experience, it's a thing that I mention to people, and they're just like, yeah. Like, how do you actually want me to actually fucking do that? Yeah. So what would you say to somebody who's really apprehensive, or they're coming at this from a historically a background of never mutual masturbating with somebody?
Oh, well, first of all, acknowledge that it's difficult because it's something that we do in private and that we, hopefully learn to do in private.
Yeah.
And very personal. And most of us have pretty much done it the same way ever since we learned, like package. It's sort of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, hold on. Halligan. It's okay. Sometimes that works. No. So in order to be able to have that that feeling of vulnerability and that intimacy, I think it does, unless you're super horny and you're like, yeah, give it to me, blah, 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 blah. And you're finding that fear is in the back and horniness is in the front. I think really talking about it with your partner and just saying, this seems like it would be really, really hot. I'm a little apprehensive because I'm feeling like it's a vulnerable thing. Like, what are you going to think when you watch me touch myself? Are you going to be making fun of me? Or are you going to be thinking, she didn't do that way, So put it all out on the table. You have nothing to lose. And start slowly. Sometimes for some people, it helps to talk about it first. So basically say to your partner, listen, let's just talk about it right now. Let's not do it, but let's talk about what that would look like for us and what we wouldn't want to do. Like, I wouldn't feel comfortable if you talk dirty to me the first time. So let's just keep that off the table. Or I don't want to see you, I don't know, rubbing your nipples. I don't know.
Yeah. An insert thing. Yes.
Yes. I just, and get that out on the table. Then once you've discussed it, it sort of like ruminates in your head a little bit. And then you make another date for an online, get together. And if you're still not feeling great, then talk about what you want it to look like. Like, I don't want to see you from the waist down. Let's grow from there. But I would love to see your face as you're stimulating yourself. I would love to see your face when you come. I don't want to show my breasts, so I'm going to be wearing a bra. Or I just think communication. And it is so very important, especially when you don't know each other that well, to be able to bring that up and have a clear conversation about it. And start slow, start small. If one partner is less afraid than the other, have them start and you just watch. There's so many different ways to do it. You could take the computer or the phone into another room and use that as a backdrop. There's so many different ways you can do it. You can use toys, you can use hands, you can direct your lover. You can ask him to direct you. And then, of course, because of Spectrum Boutique, there are toys that are remote control. And that is a lot of fun if one partner has the remote or one partner has the phone and the iPhone app.
What are your favorite app-controlled toys? And please do not feel like you're limited to say only things that we carry, because there's a lot out there. Yeah.
I actually only have one favorite, and I think they do it really, really well, is WeVibe.
Yeah. All their toys are app compatible.
They're all quality toys. They last forever, but I think also their user interface on the phone is really good.
Yeah.
And their toys are really strong. And especially their couples toy, which is sort of shaped like a U or a C.
Yeah, the paper clip.
The paper clip, that's right, the tongs.
Yeah.
That's great too, because if you don't want to use it the way it describes in the instructions, there's so many other ways you can use it. You can wrap it around a dick and stroke a dick. You can just put it against a clit. There's so many different ways that you can use it that it's just a really good, it's my favorite remote toy, because you can do a lot with it.
So when it comes to mutual masturbation in my life experience, I've got to say that a lot of it has gone down either before or after penetrative sex or, you know, just good old PIV intercourse, whatever. And I think part of people's apprehension around it is that it taps into a similar type of insecurity for some people as a toy might, or the sense of like, no, like it's not sex unless my genitals are going into your genitals in some way, shape, or form. I mean, I'm not sure that the answer would be any different, but I think maybe for the person who's like, what's the point if we're just
if we're not touching each other?
Yeah, or like the emasculation feeling, and not that, you know, you don't have to be a man to feel emasculated in this realm, because I know all types of people are like, why don't you just want to do this with me?
Right.
What would you say to those concerns?
I would say to try and have a paradigm shift of the way that you think about sexual contact and sexual pleasure. We are in this new age of identity and non-binary and all different kinds of ways that we feel comfortable or don't feel comfortable. Asexuals don't necessarily feel comfortable with any sort of sexual contact, but they might want a romantic friend. There's so many different ways that you can express yourself sexually. And I think you might be speaking about, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that feeling of being sort of sexually inert. Like, I can't affect a response if I can't touch that person. That's the only way I know how to do it, because that's the only way we're ever taught. But think about how powerful it is to be able to affect somebody without touching them, to be able to turn them on, to be able to get aroused by them without touch. And that is just sort of a whole other play in the playbook, as you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we have to get out of, as a culture, we have to get out of the idea that orgasms are the end all be all, because for a lot of people, it is not. And it doesn't have to be. And touching and arousal can be exactly what you want in that moment. And that's fine. And feeling into that and doing that by learning how your arousal process works and happens to you over your lifetime. So checking in with yourself, touching your body, and asking your partner to do the same. Just check in and say, hey, you know, I just found out that the inside of my wrists are an erogenous zone. You know, like...
I love that you said that, because while I wouldn't necessarily classify it as an erogenous zone, my partner and I have a self-prescribed touch time that happens a few times a week. And it can't be strictly massage or erotic. It just has to be like, meow, meow, meow. And we figured out that the wrist zone from a previous injury was just like, so
great when you figure that out.
Yeah, we figured that out from like a non-erogenous touch time.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of therapy. I get a lot of therapy homework. I don't always do it. Yeah. But when you do it, it really fucking works. I swear.
I know. It's true. And you know, it's the best kind of homework too, because it's pleasure homework.
Absolutely.
And I would also ask people too, and this goes back to desire and libido and all of that kind of thing too, is rediscovering your body and what turns you on, and also just touching your body. You know, we have skin hunger, and even just doing this, like while you're watching TV, really does a lot. It really helps. But also touching yourself in different ways in places that you don't touch normally, that normally someone else with a lover will touch. So like the inside of your thigh. What if you stroked the inside of your thigh? Maybe it is, you know, the nape of your neck. Maybe it's, who knows? What is it that you crave to have touched? Or you've never thought about having touched, or asking for someone to touch, but they just do it. So there's so much to discover and so much to explore, and now is such a wonderful opportunity to be able to do it and really get drunk on your own sensuality.
Oh, you just really sold it to me, and I'm just like, oh, yeah, I think what you're getting at with like the skin hunger stuff is really motivating a lot of, like, I keep joking that this past weekend, Memorial Day weekend here in the States, has been like when everybody crossed over into like fuck it mode and just threw shit out the window. I even had a friend of mine who's immune compromised, who I generally like look to for stuff on this. She was just like, no, like people gotta form pods, I guess, you know. And I'm not saying that's what people should be doing, because I don't think that people necessarily know how to navigate that safely, just like having a safe sex conversation.
Yeah, it's hard to advocate for that when publicly.
Oh yeah, and I'm certainly not either. Yeah.
I mean, personally, I have a pact with one friend.
Yeah.
And I trust that one friend. And so like I threw my back out last week and I literally could not move. I'd never done that before. I literally could not move and thought I was going to have to get like the fire department to come in.
Right.
And I called her up and she was able to come over, and it was like, when you live alone, I live alone, you get really scared, you know, like what am I going to do? And so I think for people who live alone, who are worried about what if I get COVID and I'm going to be, you know, now we're going down a really dark path. But
honestly, the dark paths are welcome here. I know that you are a true crime fan, much like myself.
Yeah.
And sometimes through the darkness, we find the light in different ways. And
very true.
I think it's impossible to not talk about right now too. I think that it's so funny to me too, how, as you're saying, it's like we have all this time to get to know each other. Actually, I believe it was Jiminica a couple of weeks ago who said something like men are particularly just like not sure what to do, and they're particularly in a critical situation because the same things don't work, as you were also saying. And even when it comes to FaceTiming, I'm like, oh, like the progression of when people feel comfortable video chatting with each other has even just been like bumped up. And how do we do that like elevator pitch of boundaries when you can't look somebody in the eye and be like,
Marco Polo.
There you go.
I'm a Marco Polo addict.
Honestly, that's a really good tip. Marco Polo is great. And I don't use Snapchat. I like the disappearing. I like that it disappears after you send something, but sometimes you want to hang on to it, but sometimes it's not as secure. Who knows?
Sorry. Someone really wants to be on my lap.
What's their name?
This is Hallerman.
What a great dog name also.
He came with it.
True. Oh.
He came with it. I didn't want to change it. So anyway.
Yeah.
But yes. It is it's a dark time and we have to acknowledge it. And personally, if I don't laugh, I'll cry. So
there you go.
You know,
we all process trauma, including global trauma, differently.
Yes. It's
I'm sure we'll be revisiting this. I really want to talk more about your book, though, because I don't think that there's enough books on the topic. I think even just like myself alone as a writer, I struggle to even know how to write about it. Like, what would you even, I mean, it's called Curvy Girl Sex, and the word fat is not used at any point in the title. And I know so many people who will freely, and proudly claim fat sex as a term. And then also people who really, dance around it or feel like, oh, I don't know if this is the right thing to say or whatever. So tell us a little bit. So this is your first book you wrote and you're working on your second right now.
Yeah.
What prompted you to write this book?
Well, they actually came to me.
Oh, so great.
I mean, I was really lucky. Someone referred me because they couldn't do it.
Oh,
So
wow.
I was like, okay, sure, I'll do that. And so I was basically a work for hire. So they had the name and we couldn't change the name. And
Oh,
uh,
interesting.
I sort of argued with them a little bit. Well, argue is a strong word, but I sort of challenged them about calling it or gendering the name, but
Sure.
they have their markets they have to meet and all of that. But I
That makes
did
sense.
get them to let me put in something about um, trans people and make it very queer friendly and
Yeah.
very intersectional. And so that was a first for the company. So that was great. Uh,
Yay.
and they pretty much let me do what I wanted to do. I
Good.
I claim the word fat.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's hard to use the word fat. I don't think that's a thing now that can happen until the word has lost all of its meaning. Um, and I don't know when that will be. Uh,
Yeah.
but there is an empowerment in calling oneself fat when they are fat, or plus size, or whatever the word is. I use all those terms in the book. Um, so writing the book was really fun and hard, and it gave me an opportunity to put my philosophy of body acceptance as opposed to body love.
Mm.
And to help people try and find their inner sexy, no matter what they think their body looks like. So the the positions in the book to me are sort of ancillary. That was sort of the medium to put this in there. I mean, it's 101.
Yeah.
It's a great position book for anybody. It's just positions,
Totally.
half the book is descriptions and talking about owning your sexuality and a little pleasure anatomy and all of that kind of good stuff. So that's the book. So I'm now finishing up or trying to finish up the book that I meant to write before I wrote that one. So
Oh, well, that's very interesting. And I think people don't realize how, even if you are author of the book and have a whole lot of control, there are so many things that are out of your control. And I know that like there's so many books that, I mean, when you write and publish a book, by the time it's published, especially with sexuality, there's a
yeah,
million things you wish you could go back and be like, I wish I could tweak this thing or this. I
yeah.
have one coming out in September, so I'm
Oh
going through the phase of like,
yes,
I wish I could change all these things that I
yeah.
didn't think of. But truly, it's so interesting how people really want to do a deep dive on like the specifics of things with books when in reality it's just a publisher's choice.
It is.
Um,
It
and I
is.
know it's a book that means a whole lot to a lot of people I know too.
Oh well, that makes me happy. That's me happiest. And they
It's
did
true.
they did let me do. I mean, I was able to put April Flores on the cover, who is
Yeah.
a star, and I was able to get my favorite photographer, Nick Holmes, to take all the pictures, and
Oh, great.
so they let me do all of that. But they were pretty hardcore on, I was able to use they them and receiver and giver, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. There's only so much control you have over it. So
I love that you make the point that it was like you had this framework or medium that you filled with like your own take on it, but at the end of the day it is a book that can be read by anybody. And I think it's so interesting that while there are things that are different, like there are toys that are particularly ergonomic or whatever, like long handled toys, whatever,
right.
outside of that, it is interesting how we choose to make such a distinction. And it's like, how do we increase representation without othering or something,
Oh
I
my God.
guess.
I I gotta say, this book was a huge, my eyes were wide open because there were many things I had to change in that book in order for them to be able to get it into a Barnes and Noble store. And at the end of the day, Barnes and Noble wouldn't carry it in the store. because quote unquote, they didn't get it.
Hmm.
And I've got to say that is a really hard pill to swallow. And the fact that they didn't get it, and I go to Barnes and Noble and I see all these things that I can't imagine anyone taking seriously in the sex section.
Right. Yeah.
And there's no, it just blows my mind. Like, and so that to me was a step backwards for the othering. I mean, most women don't look like, aren't a size 8. They're not even a size 10 or 12. They're size 14, most of them. And there are a lot of people, and I don't know anybody, literally, I don't know anybody that doesn't hate something about their body, regardless of what they look like. And
Yeah.
I have some very, very skinny, very beautiful, very tall, short friends who get teased a lot because, like, you don't have anything to worry about. Well, how do you know that? You don't know what that person's pain is.
And conversely, I would imagine it would feel pretty hurtful to be someone to assume that you hate your body because you are fat.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, I recently lost weight from the time when I was doing the book.
Yeah.
I had a medical situation that I had to take care of, and it made me lose weight. And I have to say, I felt better about my body when I was 250 pounds than I do now at 150. And I am really sort of trying to discover what about that has changed. And I think that when you get really used to one idea and you accept it, it's hard to accept another version of yourself. So being able to sort of come at it from a different standpoint is really helpful. And hopefully I'll be able to explain it correctly in the new book.
Well, I think, yeah. And it's like, I think there's this huge conversation about who body positivity is for,
yes.
who it was intended for versus who can appreciate it and learn from it now, who can speak about it. And I'm not expecting you to specifically comment on these people, but I see people like Jamila Jamil, who has a lot going on the internet, but I see a lot of, like, she has a platform that is about body positivity. And at the same time, and you know, I don't want to make this just about her, but how, okay, well, if you are a thin person, you are in Hollywood, etc., how come you get to have this platform?
Yeah.
She's a terrible example because there's so many other things she's done that are not worth getting into. But I guess she was a thin celebrity that I saw promoting a lot of stuff and getting a lot of flack, but also a lot of praise. So I can only imagine, especially people who might look at you and make a lot of assumptions about the life you've lived.
Yeah, it's interesting. My big philosophy is people just want to be happy. And life is hard. Life is hard no matter what you look like. Everyone has their own pain. And it is not for us to judge what their pain is. And it is not for us to judge their way out of that pain. It is their own journey. And if we have to, as fat women or fat men, have to rely on a diet to make ourselves feel better until we get to that next stage of accepting ourselves, go for it. And it gets me in trouble because I don't believe in diet culture. I think it's evil. I don't believe in restricting food at all. I don't believe in any of that. But I have had dear friends in terrible pain because they are in physical pain and emotional pain because they don't relate to the body that they're in. And they can't accept it. And so they need to try a bunch of stuff before they're going to get to a place in their brain that goes, I'm tired of that. Or that doesn't work for me. you can't make someone understand something so deep and so personal. They have to come to it on their own. And so I take issue with part of the body positive movement that has these really strict rules about who's able to participate. And I think that I had someone recently come to me and say, I feel really bad because I don't believe in diets and I don't believe in food restriction, and yet I've gained 50 pounds and I don't feel like myself and I want to lose weight because I don't feel good. Okay. Okay. Uh-huh. I can't understand how to accept myself. I just can't. So I'll say to her, what makes you feel good? When you're in pain, because she would eat when she was in pain, like emotional pain. When you are in pain, what makes you feel good? And she would say, M&Ms make me feel good. Okay, then you should probably have some M&Ms, because you're not going to get anywhere by telling yourself that food is evil and that those M&Ms are evil. And you're not going to be able to work on anything. I mean, I'm not a registered dietitian. I'm not a therapist. I don't even have a 4-year degree, but this is my personal experience. And when I made it so that food wasn't off limits to me, my body and my mind regulated to that. I just went to the bakery today and I bought like 5 different things, and I brought them home and I was like, if you want, you can eat all of those tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight, if you want to. And I tell myself that. It's like, there's nothing wrong with it. You can eat all of them tonight. You can parse it out. You can eat half tonight, half tomorrow, or you can throw them away. It's up to you. I ate half already within like the half an hour I got home, and I'll probably have the other half tonight. And you know what? Makes me happy.
Yeah.
And you know what? If I don't weigh myself, but if I gain a couple of pounds, fine.
Yeah.
When I don't feel good in my body anymore, when I don't have energy, when I can't walk down the street without being in pain, that's what feels bad. I don't want to make it so that food feels bad to me, because food is equal. I don't know if this is making any sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
Talked about this before. So.
Oh, really?
No, I haven't gone into it because I've been too afraid I'm going to get yelled at. But, it's my experience. So,
I mean, I identify with what you're saying, and I am a thin person, and I can't say that I've ever been fat, but I've definitely lived in my body in a lot of different ways. I've hated my body. I've loved my body. And I have a difficult relationship with food. I think everybody has a difficult relationship with food, and maybe especially so if you are socialized female based on the way you're marketed towards.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to know what to do with diet culture. And I think you bring up a really great point about like, hey, like maybe this isn't the answer if it helps you get a little bit closer to your version of an answer and acceptance.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I sort of think of this hierarchy of feelings, right? So like anything that gives you a little bit more relief than where you were is a win. And it's important to be able to look at media critically, to understand the diet industry, to understand that people want to sell you things, and know that media and entertainment is fantasy. That is a huge thing. Like,
you're cracking the nut wide open for what I've been thinking about lately. Yeah.
Oh, it is. I just bought a InStyle magazine for the first time in, I can't even tell you how many years. And I used to spend like almost $120 a month on women's magazines. And I just stopped years ago. Mm-hmm. But I bought this one because it had all the makeup in it, and I love makeup. So, but I looked at it and I was like, wow, I'm looking at it with completely different eyes.
Oh, wow.
And I can see just like what this must do to a preteen or, a teenager who's looking at this aspirationally, and how damaging it is. To me, that is way more damaging than eating a hot dog and a whole box of cereal. I I think it is, food isn't the problem. It's what we ascribe to it and how we use it. I used to smoke. I don't smoke anymore. It doesn't do the same thing for me it used to. Would I have another cigarette? Yeah. Would I start smoking again? No.
That's where I am with cigarettes too.
I so enjoyed them, I have to say.
Damn it.
I know.
Yeah. I think this is almost the larger thing I've been meditating on as I realize that social media is not a safe space for me anymore, and maybe it never was. And especially while this is not the types of accounts that I follow, if I go into the explore page or find any maybe like B-list celebrity, at some point I'm gonna encounter Fit Tea, Herbalife, which is also an MLM. All these different types, or like the tummy wrap thing. It also seems to have been to be the sector of retail that has seeped its way most into influencer culture, which is the commodification and capital. It's the algorithm of addiction for our natural need to be with one another.
Absolutely. 100% agree with you.
And I don't know what to do, because I'm like, my entire life is embedded in this. Picking up my phone is the addiction. And if I look at the things in there, I'm going to be sent all types of toxic messages. And it doesn't just stop at Fit Tea. It's the Photoshop, or there's an account I follow called Celeb Face, which is just like a before and after of the original photo and how a celebrity photoshops it. And it's so silly. It's fluff.
Yeah.
But I think if I can have my brain look at these things and just be like, no, like there's a reason we all have these conflicting feelings with our body beyond weight, the size and proportion and shape. It's right there.
I am with you 100%, and I support you in that 100%. And I know what
I don't know where I'm at.
Well, but it's like, you're figuring it out, right? You're trying to make it work, because as business people, we have to get followers. We have to. And I mean, I remember doing something I did for Instagram where I was like, oh, I can't believe I have to do this. But if I get 400 more followers, maybe someone will pay me to do like a thing. And what I found is looking on Instagram, and I'm addicted to Instagram. That is my thing.
Anybody who uses it is.
I know.
Most people here probably found this through Instagram, which is a great aspect of it.
Yes.
We're all together, but then at the same time, it's like.
Yep, exactly. And I mean, all you can do is constantly remind yourself that it's not real. I mean, someone sent me the Khloe Kardashian photo. She's had a lot of work done. And I couldn't see like the former Kardashian from the new Kardashian.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting to take in, because I didn't know how I felt about it.
Yeah, I am curious what your plastic surgery feelings are.
I think plastic surgery is fine for anybody that wants it. I mean, do what makes you happy again.
Yeah.
But the cultural ramifications, I mean, she can do whatever she wants to her body. God bless her, gay gesundheit. But I was looking at it and I was thinking about what that message is, right? Yeah. And that the message is so sad to me. And I have a feeling that there's going to be a point pretty soon where the Kardashians are going to have a come to Jesus moment, because there will be some sort of backlash of like, can we not concentrate so much on our wealth and our plastic surgery and our beauty, and actually leave the house without makeup on and have it be okay? Or I don't know, because we're in such a bad economic downturn right now. I don't think people have the stomach for it.
Yeah, like the aspirational post is no longer welcome. And I think it's interesting to see how the types of people who thrive off of the public facing aspect of their profession
Mhm.
are having to completely readjust their approach to it. I'm
Yeah.
thinking like Madonna, or like
Yeah.
people who went on very strange social media benders at the beginning and kind of almost like showed their hand of like, and I have my staff filming me, and it's like, maybe you shouldn't have your staff around right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm getting sidetracked because I also love trashy celebrity
Oh,
gossip,
me too.
but
Yeah, me too. Trust me. Like, I didn't look at Khloe Kardashian and go, okay, I think there's a chin implant and there was a revision nose surgery. Like, I do the whole thing. But I think also there's a reason why Chrissy Teigen is so popular right now, is that she is aspirational, but she's also just like us.
yeah, she fucks up celebrities. They're just like us. They fuck up.
They
And
fuck
when you
up.
have enough money, you're immune to it a little bit almost. And I think that's like, that is the Kardashian lesson, that it is like, yeah, you can do anything because you do have you have capitalism on your side. And I think like maybe the dangerous side of that is a person who feels that, who is say, I don't know. I'm trying to put this idea into words, but it's like when you are putting the aesthetic of your body before all your other basic needs or something, which I've seen friends of mine who were like prioritizing their desire for potentially getting plastic surgery over other medical stuff, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But again, at the same time, it's like, who am I to say what is going to, again, we're going back to the, like, you can't judge anybody. You don't know what's going on inside.
We all judge people. I mean,
thanks for the truth, Elle, you're right.
But that, I mean, listen, I do, but you know, I think, and we're always going to do it at some point, just because that is the way the world has brought us up, right? The key is, in my life, is going, wow, why am I judging that person so much? What's going on with me? Oh, I feel really schlumpy today. I have a zit coming in and my hormones are going nuts. But I think it's the reason I bring up Chrissy Teigen, even though she's incredibly privileged, I don't think we go from A to Z without going through the rest of the alphabet. And I think that she's like, if Kardashians are an A, I think she's like a B or a C or a D. Like, she actually went on line the other day or something and said, I feel for people that make gift baskets because I just made all of my own and sent them. And it's like, yeah, let me, play a little, violin. But for someone who used to work in Hollywood,
you're getting there. Yeah.
You're getting there. I mean, that's a type of understanding that those celebrities don't often get to, or the celebrities that we tend to idolize never get to that.
I do not envy them. I think that it's its own form of a mental health crisis.
You couldn't pay me enough. I used to work for celebrities, and let me just tell you, you could not pay me enough money to be a celebrity. Could not pay me enough money. But it is a world unto itself.
I've been doing a lot of thinking about plastic surgery. I think somebody recently asked me about it. And I too come from a liberal, like I grew up in a very crunchy granola place, as I like to say. And I remember just thinking, like, I was like, oh, the body, holisticness or whatever. And it was never that I was anti-plastic surgery. I was just like, I don't know if I support this. I don't know if it's good. And then I caught myself, first I was like 14 at Victoria's Secret and they gave me that lip plumping thing as a gift with purchase. And then I'm like, oh, I got bags under my eyes, maybe an eye cream. And then I'm like, thinking about it, I'm like, okay, even if you're not injecting something or cutting something, is me buying this eye cream any different than a person? So I had a moment recently where I was like, not that I was passing judgment, but it was more just like, oh, it's interesting that you have this set of ideas about this one thing that looks very similar to this other thing.
Yeah. And you get to see what that is for you. No one can tell you what that is. You know what I mean? Like I will do a Marco Polo with a friend of mine, and because I have to look at myself, and I'll go, oh God, it's so creepy. It's so creepy. Oh, look how much better it looks. And if I obsessed about that all day long and did nothing else, there would be a problem. But actually, what I do is I go, yeah, that's what I look like.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing I'm going to do about it. If I had $1 million, would I do something? Yeah, probably. But, or maybe not. I don't know. I don't know. I've never had $1 million. But I wouldn't see anything wrong with it. It's
Yeah.
just how much value do you place on it, and how much of it makes you able to function because of what are you leaning on? I don't know. That's why
and what will be the next thing that fills that void is also maybe what you're getting at when you're talking about Chloe. It's like, okay, it's like when we see the same, like you can tell people went to the same plastic surgeon, even if they feel good and look good, it's like, at what point are we all just going to have the same face?
Yeah. I mean, I'll say in my class, in my Big Beautiful Sex class, I'll say they want to sell you something. You will always want to lose that last 10 pounds. There will never be enough. There's always going to be something. And if you are to bed with that, at least, like there's always going to be something I want to change. Am I going to change it? Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Or you have a lot of money, or you take out a lot of loans and you get a lot of stuff fixed, and it takes you a lot longer to learn that lesson. Or you never learn it and you just go through life getting, how can we say what is right for somebody?
Of course. I love that you make the distinction between body love and body acceptance too. I mean, I don't know how, maybe you might want to say how you define those differently, but I think that going back to something you said a little bit earlier, it's like part of the horribleness of having a body, I think, is when you don't feel like you can inhabit it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that comes from trauma, but other things as well. But it's like when you feel disconnected with your body, sometimes just accepting and being in it, not necessarily loving it or having any feelings about it, but just being there is huge.
Yeah, it's huge. It is absolutely huge. And especially when there are mixed messages going on. There are people who say you have to love your body. You have to love yourself before you can love anyone else. But here, try Nutrisystem because it's $50 off. And look how great Marie Osmond looks. She looks great, and she's like 65, But the point is my personal opinion is we're never going to love our bodies. I don't think that we are in a place when we're interacting with the world, that when we have to interact with the world, that we can fully 100% love our bodies all the time. I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, we need to get from point A to point B. We just need it to work.
Right. Like, again, you can't get from A to Z without going through the alphabet. And so,
I love that.
It is, oh God, I just lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
But if you can get to accepting your body, if you can get there, that is possible. Because all acceptance requires is to see what is in the moment and know that that is true. And having to accept that that is true in the moment. It doesn't require you to think in the future. It doesn't require you to think behind you. It requires you to be in the moment, every moment. They say that when you're in love with somebody, it's not just, how do you stay in love? Well, you don't stay in love. You renew it every half hour or whatever.
Yeah.
I forgot the person who says it. And
it's encouraging, honestly.
I'm sorry?
I feel like it's encouraging because it means that you don't have to beat yourself up when you have that dip in feeling awesome. You don't have to beat yourself up because it's always going to change.
Yeah. Oh, it's always going to change. It's always going to change. I mean, aren't there days where you feel super hot and you look in the mirror and you're like, I came out good today. I put myself in the oven at 350 for 20 minutes. I came out good, right?
I really feel like I'm in a 350 oven right now.
Oh, I know that feeling. And I feel for you because I do not do well with the heat. So,
yeah. I mean, I want to encourage people, if they haven't already read it, and I'm seeing some praise in the chat for it. Pick up Curvy Girl Sex. But I guess for the sake of like just touching on some cornerstones, like what would you say? Like what would your advice be, whether it's props, whatever, for somebody who is looking for positions that are more accessible to them, or maybe somebody who has a partner who doesn't have the same flexibility, range of motion, or is fat and they have not had a partner who is struggling with how to approach a partner in this way? Yeah.
The first thing I would say is get rid of any idea that there's a perfect way to have sex. I don't care what you look like. I don't care who you are. No one has perfect sex. It is at some point incredibly awkward, embarrassing, fluids and gases come out. Someone puts an elbow in an eye, or you're pulling your skin across somebody else's skin and there isn't enough like lube and it hurts and you give yourself, it's just like, there are so many ways that it is not ideal. So put that in your mind. There's nothing special in that way. No one has special, perfect, beautiful fairy sex. So that's that. Now, props, use anything at your disposal. I mean, I actually tell people to use props even when they don't have a mobility issue, because it makes things so much easier. And you're freer. Who was I telling the other day? I think Shelly Shawless, I was telling the other day. Don't know if you know her.
I know.
She used to work for AVN. But I was telling her the other day that even if you don't have any mobility issues and you use like a Liberator wedge or pillows under you, whatever, it takes your mind off of having to like prop yourself up and stay in a certain way. That
bed sag too. Like who wants to?
Yes. I mean, it just gives you a little bit more relief. And again, relief is like the key word for me. It gives you a little bit more relief so that you can be in the moment and enjoy yourself or your partner. So that's how I think of props. I think of props in the same way if you happen to have long hair and you're giving a blowjob. Use a scrunchie or use an elastic, as my grandmother would say. Put your hair up. Put your fucking hair up. No one cares. Just get it out of your hair. And it's that kind of mindset that I ask people to get okay with when they're moving their fat.
Yeah.
In the moment when you're putting your hair up to give a dick or a dildo a blowjob, I guarantee you that person who's receiving that blowjob doesn't give a shit about moving your fat or getting comfortable.
Yeah.
I guarantee you. And I guarantee you, for the most part, they aren't thinking about whether their gut is hanging over their strap-on or their balls look too small, or, maybe, I see you, maybe they're even thinking, oh God, I'm worried that they're going to think my dick is too small. Or, I mean, no one is thinking about the fat.
Yep.
If they are, not a good person to be in bed with.
Yeah, don't fuck them.
Don't fuck them, it will not be your last time to fuck. You will have many, many, many other times to fuck with better people. I say this from experience. Oh, he wants to sit on my lap now. Otherwise, he's gonna bark.
We want the doggy.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Sorry. What else was I supposed to say? There was.
No, just anything.
Oh, wow.
I was checking the YouTube stream to see if we have any. I wanted to say that there's people watching on YouTube and on Zoom. And if you are watching on YouTube or Zoom and you want to ask a question for Elle, we are not quite at question time yet, but now is a great time to send your questions in because we can answer them. And also we have plenty to talk about. So if you just want us to keep on rambling, I can do that so easily as well. But if you do have questions, know that there is a Q&A section on Zoom. I'm just referencing my few notes I took. I think you kind of addressed it all. Is there again, I want people to just read your book. Is there anything you could say to just tease people, like a good thought starter that
there's a good chapter in the book. First of all, there's lots of good advice from other sex educators in there.
Awesome.
They have like little quotes here and there. There's good communication tools. There is a chapter on feeling sexy and spending time with yourself. And I think it's important to note too that all the advice in this book, just because it's for fat people, it really applies to anyone, male, female, non-binary, whatever, that doesn't feel good about themselves. It really does address that. There are also little hacks with a lot of the positions. There's a masturbation chapter.
Yes.
So it's I think, but mostly what it's about is hopefully giving permission to explore yourself, explore your partner, and get to a better place where you feel like you are sexualized, that you are a sexual, sexy, motherfucking hot human being that deserves sexual pleasure and who causes people to have crushes and masturbate to you and take the breath away.
I love that. I hope you all watching get to pick up a copy sometime soon, because I promise it will. I don't know. I just think there's a lot of good takeaways, regardless of who you are, as you already said. Another thing that I know we wanted to talk about was also just like internet censorship. And of course, that applies to the sex industry as a whole. But we also know that fat people do get censored a lot more than thin people on the internet, especially when it comes to nude images.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you mentioned Lady Cheeky already, but essentially it's like a page of yours within this new social media platform. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
There used to be Tumblr.
Oh, R.I.P. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, seriously. Where people could express themselves in a new form of blogging, which was visual blogging. And I called it the new porn back then. And then Tumblr got bought and no one wanted to have, sexy things on there anymore. No one, meaning Tumblr. So there's this new platform called New Tumble.
Yeah, that was the first I'd heard about it.
Yeah, and it's just like, I think it's like 3 guys that started it up, and it basically looks a lot like the Tumblr interface. And I've been on it for about a year, waiting for people to join. So more people have joined, and I curate erotic photos on there, and I do it with all different kinds of bodies and genders and sexualities and everything. The only requirement is that it turns me on.
Ooh,
and that
that's
I
a good
find
requirement.
it hot and passionate and sensual and all of that. So some of it's very tasteful and some of it can be hardcore porn because everyone has moods.
So true.
And it's free. And just go to ladycheeky.com, and it's a great way to get aroused by yourself or with a partner. So
yeah, is it free?
It is.
Oh, interesting. And is it like user created sexy pictures type of stuff?
It is literally like if someone posted a sexy picture on Twitter and you retweeted it.
Got it. Very cool.
It's a social media site.
Are there a lot of sex workers using it, or does it seem like it's like naughty photos more?
I don't know for certain.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine. I think that is definitely an area that the platform is open to.
Cool.
They are very, very, very open to having any kind of content as long as it's legal. They don't care about what it is. As long as it's legal and it's not like hate speech.
Right.
but they don't have a problem with sexual content. And you gotta buy hat tipped. So,
Well, no, I think that's great because, I mean, clearly again, under capitalism, like even this is a business, Spectrum is a business, and we get to do fun, free things like this too. And it sounds like this too has like some dudes behind it who made a thing and probably want money at the end of the day, but
sure.
it's not, but it's also it's not Mark Zuckerberg. You're not being advertised to so seamlessly. And there isn't.
Now you are, sadly.
Oh, okay.
They
well,
put
never
some
mind.
little ads up on the bottom, but it's like, I don't know.
I take it back.
Well, what are you going to do? I mean, listen.
Could you say there's less of an algorithm?
I can't, because I don't.
Okay. Yeah.
But what I can say is that it's no less, it's not Pornhub. And I think for something like my blog, my Lady Cheeky thing, is you should always pay for your porn.
Yes.
You should just pay for your porn. That there is just, and what I'm giving you are snippets. And so you should find.
Okay, I get what you're saying now.
So like Erica Lust, she's an amazing pornographer, filmmaker. There'll be a very short clip of hers, not even like a whole scene, just a short clip. And people will be like, oh, who's that? Oh, it's Erica Lust. Oh, they go to her website and they can buy stuff.
And that's the same way Instagram works. It's just, I know what you mean too, because like, I think that it's hard to just fully, like even, I'm not saying that this is what everybody wants to do, but I have also enjoyed using other smaller social networking websites to help me. Cause like, I'm not looking to quit anything cold turkey. I still want to be connected to people on the internet. And that's so cool that like, I don't use the one that I experimented with leaving Instagram for, but I think the point you're trying to make is like, it's the same concept. It just has no censorship of nudity, essentially. That's the biggest difference.
Basically. I mean, people are going to want to make money no matter what they do. I want to make money, you know? I mean, we all want to make money at some point. So it's just
Oh, sorry, you dropped out. Now you're back, though.
I was just saying, everyone wants to make money.
Yeah,
and
no.
Start something like online, they have to make money in order to keep it, you know? So it's just who's going to do that in the least offensive way and a way that doesn't take advantage of the most people.
Totally. I mean? Yeah. I definitely think that I used to moderate OkCupid, and I would basically review all the reported content. And that gave me a pretty good snapshot into the way that like censorship works. Because I was doing it and I was thinking, oh, wow, like I have a lot of power here. If I was a bigoted person, I could really abuse my power as a moderator. And there were times where I was confronted with a lot of things in a gray area where it wasn't breaking terms of service, but seemed very wrong to me. And I was thankful for that margin to be able to like exercise my own ethics in that situation. So that just makes me believe that there's got to be a lot of moderators on all these websites who are imposing their own ethics. And unfortunately, that boils down to more or less the things that are considered taboos by society. So being fat and being undressed, etc.
Being undressed. I mean, I think unfortunately too, people have gone to algorithms that look for amount of skin on a human.
That's what I've heard too.
And like I think I told you on the phone that I posted a picture of a cervix. Cervix is the end basically of the vagina, and it has a little sort of little hole, but it looks like a little slash in it that goes into the uterus, and it kind of resembles the head of a penis. And I posted it on Instagram. And it got taken down, and basically said that was my last chance if I post something else.
They love to threaten you. They like being like, "This is your final warning."
Your final warning. And I was lucky that a friend of a friend knew somebody who had a contact and was able to put it back up, because it was just like, I even reposted it and put a hat on it and like a vest to see if that made a difference. No, it didn't make a difference.
Oh my
You still saw the little
God.
flash and the
Yeah, I feel like I mean, cervixes are, it's so interesting how it's like if you go super internal, like what's so graphic about a cervix? Like by that same logic, then like a colonoscopy is
yeah.
X-rated, you know?
You're my spleen. Yeah.
I think the weirdest thing I've had censored is like ball gags.
Oh God, really?
With clothing on, just because like people will, I'm sure, be like abuse.
Oh, geez.
So I mean
Yeah.
it's pretty fucking dark. It's a reflection of the darkness around us,
It is.
unfortunately.
It is.
But I think that, I mean, I saw a lot of these sites pop up around when Sesta Fosta was passed, of
Mhm.
course. Um, yeah, I mean, how do you feel as a sex educator, your ability to provide even just education, you know, and not the fun, sexy things? How has that been impacted in the past? I
Boy,
guess it's been 4 years now.
yeah. I mean, it's devastating. I mean, it was hard enough before Sesta Fosta, and now, like, it's really difficult if you are certainly a pleasure inclusive sex educator and want to teach people about the pleasures that their body can give them and be able to advertise that so the most people can see it and they can decide whether they want to come or not. No pun intended. And we're not able to do that.
Yeah.
And it's really up to some arbitrary whatever that says whether we can um, advertise or post something or whether something is salacious or not. I mean, just with the Small Business Bureau or the small business loans recently,
Yeah.
people
That
were
was a great
excluded.
example.
Oh, great. Yeah. I mean, people were excluded. Sex toy stores were excluded mostly because they qualified as being of a prurient nature. And yet it's legal. So, by the way, is porn. And so, by the way, is sex work in Nevada, in certain counties.
Yeah.
Um, and so, by the way, is escorting. Even though it's not always has to do with sex, but sometimes it does. Um, it's just it's just really unfortunate. And once it was passed, it just becomes even harder to get it taken down or revised. And it's not a huge priority, especially with uh, present, uh, I'm just old white men that are in power.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not their big priority, yet they are huge. They partake of it.
For anybody who wants to do more reading on Sesta Fosta, do you have a specific resource that you like to point people towards to do a deeper dive on that?
I follow certain accounts.
Yeah.
I follow Antonia Crane as a sex worker that I really, really respect and love. There is also Susie Q,
Yeah.
who is fantastic. Lynn Camella is a professor at Las Vegas University. She's a professor of porn studies, and her work is really great to read. So I sort of look to them. Jessica Drake, I love. Stripper Writer.
Yep.
Jack the Stripper.
Yep.
These are all really wonderful, wonderful accounts to follow and to support. Some of them have merch. I have my tip her hat from Jack the Stripper.
Oh yeah, love Jack. It was so funny at AVN we met the people behind Decrim Sex Work, which I hadn't heard of, and I believe they're New York City based.
Uh-huh.
But it seems like they have a lot of like more legislation heavy information and like local rallying stuff. So that's the other one I know besides like SWAP and Red Umbrella.
Red Umbrella, exactly.
Oh, and Free Speech Coalition.
Yes, duh. Free speech. Thank you.
Yeah, there's so many of them, which is great. That's great.
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 Strada Foundation.
Wait, what did you say?
The Strada Foundation.
Oh, nice. Okay, we'll have to make a post with all of the things in them, obviously. Yeah, and I think it's also just an interesting reminder how it's like, just because things are illegal doesn't mean they are unethical, and just because they are legal doesn't mean they are ethical. I think I actually got that specific concept from SWAP, but they're basically being like, cheating on your spouse is technically legal, but we don't condone it. And and so I think that there's also just so much stigma, additional stigma, obviously, because of the persecution of sex workers. And I think that really also inhibits a lot of people from becoming sex educators or coaches or whatever, or just talking about educational things from people we need to hear it from, because people don't want to out themselves. Right. So I feel like it really is only just limiting our own education. And even if you're a SWERF, a sex worker exclusionary radical feminist, I feel like you should at least be able to get behind that. And, I'm not, SWERFs need to do a little bit more research. But it's stuff I've been thinking about a lot lately. And I think it also impacts the way people sext even.
Well, with people not understanding, and when I say people, I mean, your run-of-the-mill, middle America, wherever, not understanding the basics of consent, or what consent means when you're sexting, what consent means. I taught a class at Emerson College a while back, and someone said, what about if we're both drunk and we both consent? It's like, well, let's look at that, because it's a complicated question to unravel in your head when you're that age.
Oh yeah.
And so you can't just say, no, that's wrong. You have to say, well, let's put it this way. You're not really, can you drive? Like, could you walk a straight line? Could you, all these different things.
There's a gradient.
There's a gradient. And you're just sort of better off waiting till you're not drunk. Having to describe to them, to show people what is and what isn't consent, is, and have that be like second nature.
And maybe that's also part of the whole social media toxicity, is that we are so used to this instant gratification that we expect that same type of instant gratification from people we are sexting with, whether we have met them or not. I know I personally feel a little bit more quick to hit a send button when I'm in the habit of putting myself out there all day, every day. I don't have the answers. I just, I love it. I love and respect your opinions, and you've got so much good education that I am asking you the things I myself have been chewing on, especially the past few months.
No, it's good to talk to somebody, a smart person, so I can, I get feedback and get what other people are thinking about and what you're thinking about, and how it's making its way in and out of your brain, just like it's making its way in and out of my brain. It helps. It helps. I always say sometimes like the bad idea leads to the good idea. So it's like the more you talk, and I'll often think like, oh my God, what did I say? It was so stupid. And then I'll just go, yeah, but it led to this conversation, and I really got something out of that. So.
Yeah, I think that we have to, going back to what you were saying earlier, all about removing the pressure, being more forgiving with yourself, not just your body, even the way you communicate. I think especially having there be an infinite record of everything we've ever said online, and not to say that you should be able to, I think, if you're saying hateful, harassing things, that's no good. But I do think that people are afraid to maybe communicate or ask those questions. Kind of like I was saying earlier, if you're afraid to say the word fat, then how are you going to ask about it? So I think that there's this, like, we're doing this very interesting dance where everything's out on display, for better, for worse. And how do we use these tools to further stuff? And it sounds like you have found a niche that does that.
Oh God, have I?
I mean, well, by finding your own community space
Yeah.
where you can post the things you want to post.
Yes.
Like,
and I think it's just at the end of the day, people just want to be happy. How can we get to happy? How can we get to relief? How can we get to feeling better in the moment? Because feeling better in the moment will make that next moment maybe feel a little bit better. And I know it sounds really like Pollyanna and sunshine and unicorn.
It's optimism too.
It's optimism, but it's also like it's possible. I mean, if you're going to say something bad about yourself, it's just as possible to say something good about yourself. And how about when you can't say anything good about yourself, just let it wash through you and say something neutral, at least. Don't keep that negative thought in your head. Say something neutral.
I needed to hear this today, honestly.
I'm glad. I know.
Yeah, it's every day. It comes in waves, doesn't it?
Oh God, I know. It comes in waves. It does.
If anybody wants to ask a question, I'm going to put out a final call for questions. I think that we talked about a lot of great stuff, so I can understand if you feel like we have tickled every corner of your brain. I guess my final question for you is like, what are your healthy coping strategies right now?
I don't know. I just bought my dessert tea tonight.
Bakery.
That is actually a healthy coping strategy for me. That's a good example, because in the past, the food has been the enemy, and I would beat myself up for that. And so being able to look at food in a neutral manner and be kind to myself and enjoy it in the way that it's supposed to be enjoyed, that is a good coping strategy. Another good coping strategy is there's a great book called Body Kindness by Rebecca Scritchfield. I just wanted to say that because I just remembered, and it's a wonderful, wonderful book for coping strategies and for getting through life. But being kind to yourself. I mean, it's easy to say, but I think maybe even putting Post-its around, I'll do that sometimes, and it'll just say, stuff like, there's always another bus. Or,
I love Post-it, inspirational Post-its.
Because sometimes it'll just shock me back into my system, and I'll just go, yes, that's right. I'm being really hard on myself. And just reaching out to your loved ones that you really trust, that one best friend or that really good friend that you can really relate to, and just say, I really just need to talk. I don't need advice or anything. I just want to be heard. I just need to tell somebody this. That helps a lot. And then doing this while you're watching TV.
Get that body pillow.
Get that body pillow. But even like skin on skin, and just like putting your hands all over your body and feeling yourself. It really does. It brings out the oxytocin, and it just makes you feel a little bit better. And then you get all flushed and you feel better. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's absolutely true.
Doesn't. It sounds on it. on top of all the things. Well, thank you, Elle. Is there anything you'd like to include before we sign off?
No, thanks for having me. I've had a blast, and you should just do this every week. You should have your own show.
Thank you for giving me your time. Oh, someone said that they're hugging themselves right
now. Oh, good. Yay. Yay.
Please pick up. Oh, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, if anyone wants to yell at me, please don't do it, because I'm not going to respond.
Yeah, we all need a little bit more peace on the internet. Yeah. And please pick up a copy of Curvy Girl Sex by Elle Chase. Elle Chase also has a website, and you can also follow her. What's your handle? Is it
my handle? The Elle Chase on all social media.
Cool. Makes it easy.
It makes it easy. And ellechase.com.
Amazing. My final notes for the audience are that I posted about the little worksheet we are doing. You can still fill them out. We are picking a winner of a $100 gift card for all the people who submit one at the end of this month. don't forget to do that. You can use what you saw tonight to fill it out. And we also have the Spectrum Journal, where, I mean, I'm going to be hitting you up to maybe write or do or say something for it in the future.
Love that.
And finally, there's also the Spectrum Forum. If you feel like having conversations with people about things, float a query out there, especially if it's like a little bit more personal one. People love chatting in there. It's really been picking up a lot of steam since quarantine began.
It's a really great place to go. I love your site.
Thanks. We just like relaunched a new fancy front end of it about a month ago. Time sure flies, but man, websites are, I never thought a website would be as difficult as it really is. I know the Squarespace ads make it seem easy.
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm there with you. Solidarity.
Well, Elle, is certainly not the last thing we will be doing together. I would like to continue this conversation elsewhere.
Yeah. Oh, wow, you're in a tunnel. Oh, now I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, now I can hear you, yes.
Well, perfect timing. Signing off. Thank you so much, Elle.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful rest of your day. Give that cute doggy a pat for me.
I will. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.